everyone, welcome to another episode to Ahead of the Lane. I have two guests over this time. We have a familiar face with Polson, and we have a new guest, Praveen, and they're both amazing people and they're great supporters of the club. So, right now we're going to start talking about, one of the most obvious things, which is the Newcastle game that just finished. So Praveen, since you're the guest, what do you think? Like, tell me your first words on the podcast regarding the match. What do you think happened?
Um, as soon as I saw that we only had a one-goal lead heading into the last 10 minutes, I knew it was up. I knew something was gonna happen, and so I'm not even surprised at this point. Like as soon as Kane hit the post, and I just had a sinking feeling in my stomach. I was like, oh, I think that was the chance. And yeah, sure enough, and it had to be Willock. So that just makes it even worse. An Arsenal boy scoring against us.
What about you, Paulson? What do you think about the game?
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing, isn't it? When you're a Spurs fan, you just have to get used to 1-0 or 2-1 isn't enough, no matter what the minute is. It needs to be at least a 2-goal lead. Otherwise, you're just in complete danger. And it's always the same. It's always the same thing. It's never that we couldn't have made it 3-1 or 2-0. It's always the case that we get given a chance or 5 chances right at the end of the game, and it's just hit the post, bad decision, shot that should be going in goes out near the corner flag. It's always just wasted opportunities, and then we inevitably concede. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and it's not like this was like a smash and grab by Newcastle or anything. They were really in the game. Like, if Lloris didn't turn into like Superman in the first 10 minutes, they would have scored then. So
Yep.
Yeah,
you
that
can't even
save,
say it was
right?
stolen.
That save was actually a really good save. I was like, my heart sank when I saw like the ball hit the post, but then when he saved it, I was like, I took a sigh of
Yeah.
relief.
Yeah.
But like Paulson said, that a one-goal lead is never enough with us. We can never like maintain a one-goal lead. We always have to score the second. And sometimes, like, even when we score the second, it's not even enough. Like, sometimes you have to score the third because, like,
No, we
two
blew
goals,
3, didn't we? We had the West Ham game, so we can even
Exactly.
do that.
you know?
No lead is safe. That's
No
basically
lead is safe.
And it's not just the Mourinho thing. Like, let's be clear. It's not the Mourinho thing. It's not Pochettino thing. It's just the Spurs thing. Like, we're
It is
never
a Spurs
safe,
thing.
you know? But let's be honest. Like, we wanted to score more goals. Why did Jose hook Vinicius instead of, like, Lucas or Lo Celso? Like, can you tell me what you
Yeah.
think, Wilson?
I really have no idea as far as that decision, because clearly attack was not a problem. If you're going to sub off Vinicius, it's clearly, okay, we need to make changes to what's going on at the top of the pitch. My only issue that I saw was, well, Kane scored 2. Maybe Jose's thinking was, if you take Vinicius off, you can stop Kane from being below him, and you can make Kane, who scored the 2 goals in the game, go higher up into the proper target man spot. But I don't really see the purpose of that when Kane already got his 2 goals from the position anyway. And I think Vinicius and Kane, I mean, Vinicius had the goal that was given offside. I mean, it was clearly offside, but the finishing ability is right there. He's another striker. When you're playing Kane in that position, I love seeing Kane in that position, because you can have Vinicius playing the striker role. Kane is essentially playing like an old Eriksen role, if you like, in that situation, or a Dele Alli role, where
Yeah,
it's plenty of goals, but also creating opportunities all the time. It's basically a number 10, but a little bit higher up, if you like.
So the thing is, I think, I really like the 2-striker formation with Vinicius and Kane, because I feel like Vinicius is like a decent striker, but
Of
Kane
course.
is a better number 10 than all of our number 10s.
Yep.
And so that's a decent trade-off to me.
Yeah.
So I was
I
really surprised. I think Jose took Vinicius off just to give Son minutes, because he just wanted him on the pitch.
Very true.
Okay.
But I would have taken off Lo Celso instead.
Yeah. That seemed like the obvious move for me. Lo Celso seems to be, if you're going to take off any of the attackers, that seems to be the obvious move to make. Lucas
I
was having
mean-
a great game. Kane got 2 goals. Vinicius was doing fine. I don't know why you wouldn't take Lo Celso off.
I mean, why Son though? Like why the urgency to bring back a player that just returned from injury? Like Praveen, what do you think? Like,
Yeah, I was kind of happy that Son was on the bench, because I mean, we have the habit of rushing players back from injury, and we didn't really need him to start this game. So I was happy when I saw him on the bench. But to hook Vinicius at halftime seems a bit odd. Like I would assume Son would get like a last like 20-minute closer role, injection of pace, but it just didn't really make sense to get Vinicius off at halftime. It's not like he was doing bad. He was, just he was doing his job. His job isn't to be Kane at number 9. His job is to just press, be annoying, and let Kane do his work behind him.
Exactly. Polson, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the move to bring on Son was purely done out of reputation. It's one of those reputation subs. You've got the player that's like, oh well, that's the consensus top 2, top 3 player at our club. Therefore, if you've got him on the bench, you have to give him minutes. I don't really think it makes sense, especially considering he just came back from the injury. I don't know. I think it's a reputation sub. I don't think it was really done out of anything else.
Also,
Okay.
when you have Son on the I assume we switched formation. So instead of the 2 strikers up front, Son goes to the left, right? And whenever we do that, our whole right side is just really weak at that point because we're playing a makeshift right back with Tanganga, right? Who he's good defensively, but whenever he tried to do overlaps going forward, he was caught out, right? And then we had Lo Celso at right wing, who isn't really a right winger. So he's also just kind of trying to tuck in, go in the middle with Lucas. And it's just leaving that entire area really exposed. And we ran no attacks through the right side. Like if you saw, everything was through the left, everything was through with Reguilon, and nothing was through the right. So it was just a messy situation there.
Like, here's what I've noticed, and it's not just this Newcastle game, it's also the previous game against Aston Villa. It's that Lo Celso and Tanganga do not work together. They do not function properly. They do not have the same understanding that, for example, Bale has with Tanganga or Lamela has with Tanganga. And as much as people want to criticize like Lamela's performance today, which is very, very valid, to be quite honest, like Lamela hasn't played well, except that pass to Kane that Kane hit the post with. But except that, like, even with Lamela's bad performance, he covered up well for Tanganga, unlike Lo Celso. Like, and I like Lo Celso, to be honest. I've gotten used to the idea of Lo Celso, and I like him now. But
Yeah.
I just don't get what Jose was trying to do. And I really don't want to make this episode a Jose issue because, it's like every episode is like a Jose issue, But it's we cannot deny what's in front of us, right? Like
Yeah.
Jose did make a lot of mistakes, and this is his fault. But let's focus on the players now. Like Paulson, the players that played. Who were the best players and who were the worst players in your opinion?
Well, I mean, as far as if you have to say that any of the players were good, I mean, I suppose you give credit to Kane because, okay, you got the 2 goals for us. I mean, goal involvement's always going to at least give you a decent performance, even if everything else you did wasn't great. He could have had 3 goals and he could have had an assist, if the Vinicius goal had counted. So, I think Kane is definitely the guy you have to point out first. I think Lloris had a good game, all things considered. The 2 goals that we conceded, you can't really put him to blame for either of them. I don't think many keepers are saving them, especially not Joe Willock whacking it from 4 yards, crossbar down. Yeah. And then, I don't know, otherwise it's quite tough. Højbjerg had a lot to do because of how poor the defensive performance was, but I don't know. Having a lot of work doesn't necessarily mean that you had a good game. It's pretty hard to say. Not many people had a good game today. So if I had to give a top 3, it would probably be Kane, Lloris, and I suppose Lucas while he was in the position he started on the pitch.
All right. The worst player?
Yeah, that's about it. Worst players, I'm going to say Sanchez today. He looked completely shot for confidence for some reason. I have absolutely no idea why. Something just went wrong with Sanchez today.
It's so confusing with him.
Yeah, it is very confusing with him. I don't really understand it. And I will say Lamela and Lo Celso had a little bit of a rough time today. I can't lie. They had a very rough time today, both of them.
Yeah,
I think one bright spot is Rodin. I think he did pretty solid given what was around him. Because another thing, like usually we can count on the left side. Like Reguilon usually does a pretty good job, but Reguilon today was really bad, like shockingly bad against like Dwight Gale of all people. I barely know who Dwight Gale is. He was constantly like running past him, and I was like, because the one thing you can count on Reguilon is he can get caught out, but his pace always makes up for it.
Yeah. But
he just looked really stiff and slow today, and that was shocking. So I think Rodon did a good job cleaning up after him, and just there was a bunch of times where like balls would come into the box, and I would just be like, oh my god, I can't watch this. But Rodon in the air is I think he's the best defender in the air that we have. So
Oh, by a distance, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
by
the
a
only one
lot.
that's actually good, yeah.
yeah, I think like in terms of headers in the box, it's like him and then Kane. Like it's pathetic. But so I think he had a pretty good game, all things considered.
And who do you think played badly? Like, who would you say like should be ashamed of how they played today, Praveen?
I'd say Sanchez. Like the way the back line is, Sanchez is the veteran in that back line, as crazy as it sounds. Like you have academy product on the right, new signing on the left, and a left center back. Sanchez is the one that has to like lead at that point. And he just, I don't know, he like the first goal he got caught out, which I think that was a combination of him and Tanganga is just trying to be too cute in the back. And then it's just there's just some things that he does where you're just like, wow, this you just can't get away with doing that. Like some of his headers were just really poor, just straight to the other players. It's just, it hurts to see because I really want him to do well because he has all the attributes to like be an amazing center back, but he just turns off sometimes. Yeah, so I'd say Sanchez had a pretty rough game.
Like I want to defend Sanchez so bad because I like Sanchez, but that game
Oh,
is
so do I.
It's so hard to defend him. It's so hard to defend him. I'm watching the game and I'm like, I can't defend you, bro. Like, this is so bad, and just the whole game was bad. And to me, like the usual names like Sanchez, they deserve some stick, but also Reguilon played really bad. And like I have to say this, every cross was misplaced, every tackle was wrong. He even almost, allowed them to score. Tanganga wasn't good. Like I know, like especially the British fans, they like him, but like he was bad too. Davinson was bad. Højbjerg, I can't blame him. He actually played a good game despite what happened.
He played fine.
Højbjerg saved us a bunch of times. Like when Saint Maximum came on at the end, he was just cutting through everybody, and Højbjerg made like several last-ditch blocks. But yeah, as soon as he came off the bench, I was like, oh god, this is bad. Like we were already getting carved apart by like subpar players, and now like an actual person comes on. So
yeah, it was very embarrassing. And if you look at the league table, we're now fifth with like 49 points. We could have been fourth, and Chelsea would have gone fifth. But no, we draw at Newcastle, and now we're fifth. Chelsea's fourth. There's like
and Everton have 2 games in hand.
Exactly, and Everton have 2 games in hand.
Yeah, we're going to go to 7.
West Ham have a game in hand. Manchester United have a game in hand. We could have been top 4 if we won this. With the goal difference with Chelsea, we could have been 5 points away from the third place team, Leicester. We could have been 6 points away from the second place team, Manchester United, and
who we play next, so that could have been a huge point swing.
Exactly. We just bottled we could have been easily, I'm not even joking, we could have easily been top 3, top 4 if we won this and a bunch of games, in the future.
Yep.
Like, what do you guys think? Like, the next games are Manchester United, Everton, and Southampton. Like, it was just United and Everton, then the Carabao Cup, but then like a few days ago, they just added Southampton right before the Carabao Cup final against Manchester City. So, Polson, what do you think is our prediction for the next 3 league games? United, Everton, Southampton. Tell me the scores.
Well, considering we blew our opportunity to take ourselves into a much better position and then have the game against Man United where we would go on and then hopefully make that a sort of, that's that 6-point game situation. You hope you can beat them. I don't think we're going to beat Man United. I don't think that's really a hot take. As far as Everton, I mean, even whatever metric you want to use, current form, expected amount of points they'll have if they play their games in hand, Everton are a better team than us as currently constructed. So, is the Everton game at our stadium or is it at Everton?
The Everton game is away
at their stadium.
Yeah, the Everton game is away.
Everton home first game.
Okay. Well, if I was to make a prediction, I would predict Everton to beat us in that game as well. Sadly, and then Southampton, I would favour us. We seem to do fairly well against Southampton, but 1 out of 3 isn't isn't looking great, really. And then obviously Carabao Cup final. I don't think it takes much thought to say that we are not pulling through that.
Yeah, especially since Joe Roden is cup tied for the Carabao Cup. So
Oh, we
I
can't even
had
play
s-
him. Yeah.
yeah, I had some hope, but now I'm like, oh god, we're gonna.
Yeah.
So,
It'll take a
it's-
miracle.
so Praveen, like, what's your prediction? Do you agree with Polson? Do you think, with the Everton game and the United game, we're not gonna do anything?
I have a little more hope. That just might be me. I don't really have much of a basis for it.
You're
but
very optimistic.
I am very optimistic.
Someone has
But-
to be.
Yeah, I feel like there's swings in mood of the team, and like usually after like a bad game, there's like a little bit of a bounce, I guess. And I mean, it'd be a nice bounce to have against United, but at the same time, like we embarrassed United, so they're probably going to be coming back like with a vengeance at that game. So I'm not really looking forward to that. And I'm worried that after this game, Jose's just gonna like start chopping and changing the defense a lot more. Like I'm afraid that after this game that Tanganga had, he's just gonna be like, all right, you had your chance, you're done, or you're back in. And so I'm kind of concerned that too much chopping and changing that's gonna like ruin the dynamic that we had going. But to be fair, there wasn't too much of a dynamic on that right hand side anyway. But I think we can get it done against Everton because they're a really streaky team, and I don't think they've been on too good of a form recently.
That's true.
The thing with Everton is that even though like they've been very inconsistent, but against like big teams, you feel like they do actually show up.
Yeah.
The players show up. The manager fires them up. Their midfield like Doucouré and James Rodriguez, they play really well against big
Also,
teams.
they have two
Sigurdsson
solid center backs, like a
Exactly.
good pairing.
and Sigurdsson, his resurgent form is worth taking note.
Yep.
But ignore that previous episode I made. I was like very confident we'll just like run through, all our
Run the
games
table.
and win the Carabao. Like I tried to be optimistic. I tried to be neutral. I tried not to be, that pessimistic anti-Jose fella. But no, like after what I've seen, my worst fear came true. Is that the Aston Villa game, the one we won, even though we played really well, the international break right after that game actually killed all our momentum. So we had to build it up again with Newcastle, and because we drew against Newcastle, and that draw felt like a defeat, to be quite fair. So
Honestly, all of our draws are defeats because
Yeah.
we never draw against or like tie against good teams.
No, it's always some terrible team that we
Yeah.
expect to beat and then have the lead against going into the final 10 minutes.
yeah,
Be that Wolves, Palace,
Exactly.
Newcastle.
So exactly like you guys said, they feel like defeats because they're not convincing draws either. So I don't know how we're gonna go into Everton at Goodison Park and get a good score, because we need to beat Everton to gain momentum, to beat United, and beating United is not an easy task. They're second in the league, and they found form, and they're really well. They're very motivated, and we have to beat United because we have Southampton. And Southampton, I know we beat them 5-2 in the early days of the season, but I don't know how we're gonna play against them. Our team is too inconsistent for us to predict anything.
Yeah.
And then now, since we discussed the 3 league games, we have the Carabao Cup. What do you guys think? Let's start with Praveen. What do you predict?
I'm
Just
trying
lay
to
it
think
out.
of the lineup that we would play in the Carabao Cup, and I have no idea because okay, left back would be Reguilon, and then I guess Sanchez at right center back. And then Toby left center back. I don't want to see Dyer ever again playing center back.
Nah,
I would
he's gonna play.
Ches Toby.
Yeah, so it's gonna have to be Toby, and then right back. I guess we want defense against City, so maybe Tanganga. He was good against City in the last game, but I don't know. And then right wing, you don't want Bale because Bale doesn't defend, and then we don't have any other right wingers really.
Mm.
So it's just I have so little confidence going into that game, but I'll always have hope because it's a one-off game. You never know what could happen. Son could just decide to turn into like a Puskas Award winner again and just do something crazy. You never know. But City are overwhelming favorites. The only chance I feel like we have is we don't even have a chance because even when City put out a fully rotated team, they still win. So I don't know. I have very low expectations for that game. But I hope that Jose can get everyone fired up, drill it into their heads. Listen, you don't get into finals very often. Like, you need to take this opportunity. Like, you people haven't won anything in the Prem. Like, none of you have. Like, you need to do something. I hope you can get that through their heads. And, like, the players themselves can try themselves up, but I have very low expectations.
What about you, Polson?
There's only one justification by which I think there's any way we can beat City, and that is if the Zagreb loss, if all of the recent losses to teams that we should be beating, the choking leads, if all of that is purely because for the last 4 months, Jose has been planning for this Man City game, and specifically watching Man City tapes in his home 8 hours a day like Bielsa does, that's the only way that we can possibly beat Man City, is if all of the poor results are because he's not been focusing on these games at all, and we've been solely planning for Man City. That's the only way we win. But otherwise, I don't see anything going our way. This is, if not for how consistently good Bayern Munich are, this is the best team in the world, probably. This is Manchester City. The form that they're on is absolutely ridiculous.
I think they're better than Bayern at this point.
They probably are. The only issue is if you put them in a Champions League match against each other, it is City. They're just perennial European chokers, but they know how to win a Carabao Cup, so we're certainly not favoured in that at all.
They've won the last 3 back-to-back Carabao Cups. They're not new to this tournament.
It's their competition at this point.
I don't know. Like, guys, like, I want to be optimistic. I just want to do something this season. I want to, whether it's Jose or not, I want the season to be salvaged somehow. We started the season with like, what, top 4, win the Europa, win the FA, win the Carabao. And to us, that was successful. We said, like, this was an amazing window. We have now a backup for every position. We have a good squad depth. And now we come in what, like, we're not even at the end of the season, and we're out of the FA, we're out of the Europa League, we're in the Carabao Cup final, yeah, but then we face Brentford and Stoke, and those are like must-wins. And we choked, and we choked the league. You know, we were like first in December, and then everything went like downhill since New Year. So, and our recent performances aren't encouraging. Like, whether you like the manager, whether you don't, you have to admit there are individual errors, yes. But there are also tactical errors that you just don't understand, and some substitutions and decisions being made that aren't justifiable.
The only thing I can really fault Jose for in this game is the Son substitution, because I think he had to pick the same team that he did against Villa, because otherwise it's just unfair. Like, everyone who played against Villa had a really good game, and to drop any of one of them would be unfair. So I can't really fault him for the squad selection. But the Son substitution at halftime was odd. Like, give Vinny 20 more minutes. Like, he has tons of energy. Let him run around, press people, be annoying.
Exactly. So
that was confusing to me.
Like, I don't think we're gonna win the Carabao. Like, I know I said, like, in the previous, like, literally the title of my previous, like, episode was like, we can win the Carabao. Actually, no, we cannot win this. We cannot. If we do win this, I'm actually gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna do something, you know, like, I'm gonna embarrass myself because I'm
shave your head or something. Give yourself a mohawk.
Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna, like, you know that video of like Mourinho Papa and just he kisses a picture of Mourinho. I'm gonna actually do that if we win the Carabao and reach top 4. If we reach top 4 and win the Carabao, like, both at the same time, I'm gonna actually redo this video. I'm gonna remake it and I'm gonna post it on Twitter, and I'm gonna be Jose in.
Mourinho forever. We love you, Papa.
Because, like, that's the only way you can salvage this. Like, what do you think, Polson? Like, tell me what you think about the Carabao. Do you think we can do anything?
Like I say, if it's a case of Jose's doing some of that, like, Inter versus Barca stuff from years ago, and he's got like a full plan set out for every single star player that Man City have, even though they have like 7 of them. You know, if he's got some plan set out that he's been working on from the moment this match was upcoming, I don't know. Maybe he can be a tactical mastermind for just a little bit, just this one game.
I like that theory. This is why I'm gonna go with this. This is why Aurier and Toby have been playing. They've just been in the film room just watching, because he knows they're going to be starting. This is what's going to happen.
I don't believe this. What are you guys talking about? This isn't the Mourinho of 2008, 2010, 2013. This is the dinosaur in 2021. This is El Jurassico. God. Like, what is this? Like,
I mean, you gotta have hope. I don't know.
Yeah, we're finding any reason why we could win the hardest game in football. That's what we're trying to do.
I mean, I don't know. Like, Kane's in the form of his life, right? Against City. Son always likes to score against City. It's just one of those things. City at Wembley or against us in London stadiums have been poor historically.
Okay, so like Polson said, and Praveen also agreed. You guys wouldn't bet money on us winning, right? Like,
No, I wouldn't bet money on us doing anything besides like drawing a game, honestly.
okay, fine. Okay, so that's as good of a prediction from both of you. Now, let's go to the final segment of our whole episode today, and it is all about like what do you think is gonna happen at the end of the season? Like, do you think we're gonna hit top four? Do you think we're gonna do anything? Like, let me know what you think, Praveen.
Um,
You look like you're
Before
thinking.
the Chelsea game on yesterday, I was really not convinced that we would get top four in any sense. But Chelsea, I don't know if if they've been found out or like it's just anything, but that was like a shocking result against West Brom. So now I feel like it's opened the door for basically everybody, like in 4, 5, 6, 7, to just go for it. Like Liverpool's probably going to go on a charge now. West Ham are in the best position actually to take advantage of this.
Mhm.
Everton have 2 games in hand. Ancelotti knows what he's doing, so that's them. Chelsea, I think, also have a good shot. So, and if we had won this game, I would have been more confident, but we didn't. So we've got it wrong. We've gotten a draw against Newcastle, so now we need to smash United, and that's
Yeah,
I
like
don't know.
we have to smash United, you have to smash Everton, you have to smash Southampton if you need any chance of, going top four. What about
Yeah.
you, Paulson? Anything to add?
I think top four is actually, it borders on impossible for us at this point, just based on if you look at the lineup of teams. You could say that there's a solid shot we finish 7th. Never mind not finishing in top 4.
Yeah.
Because I
4,
mean,
5, 6, 7 is just liquid.
4,
at this
5,
point.
6, 7 is very fluid. But I mean, I would expect Chelsea to have better form than us for the remainder of the season. I would expect even streaky Everton to be less streaky than we are. I would expect West Ham to hold the points advantage that they have ahead of us. Maybe we've come ahead of one of those, but even that only puts us into 6th. So getting to 4th we'd have to defy all kinds of odds.
Yeah, and the thing with
We
Chelsea
even
is-
rely on people playing badly.
Yeah, the thing with Chelsea is the more I think about it, the more I think that was a one-off like anomaly because
Yeah.
Tuchel rotated like half of his team for no reason.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
And they didn't
Thiago Silva red
get
card.
statistically dominated either. It
Yeah.
was very weird, that game.
Yeah, it was like incisive. West Brom just turned into like prime Barca for like patches at a time there.
Yeah.
But I really don't think that'll happen again. And Chelsea have like a joke of a run of fixtures towards the end. Like they just have bottom half team. So it's gonna be tough. If we had won this game, I would have been a lot more confident. But those 2 points dropped are huge with how tight everything is.
So, Paulson said that being top four is impossible. Like, like the top four race is almost over, and we're not a part of that race, unfortunately. And Praveen said that the more he thinks about it, the more he feels like that Chelsea game against West Brom, where they had the shocking defeat, was an anomaly. And it's something I do agree with and this one is not something that's going to affect them. I honestly don't think so. I think their spirits are high. I think they're very motivated under new guidance, under competent leader. And like you said, Praveen, there was a lot of rotations, and I don't think it's going to happen again. I think they're going to blaze through. I think West Ham is going to be irritating, even if they don't get the wins. They're going to be an irritating opponent to anyone they face in the future. I think Everton is also going to be irritating. They do have that grit in them. They have the players that have grit, and our players don't. And I don't think our manager is the type of player to motivate these kind of players that we have. Like, don't you guys agree? Like, Praveen, do you
Yeah,
agree with that?
I think the main difference between like Everton and us is like I think attacking wise we have way better players than Everton. I think that's obvious. But Everton have a really solid like defense. Like Yerry Mina and Michael Keane are top quality center backs. I feel like for the way they play, just massive. You can't head anything at them. They clear their lines really quickly. They're disciplined. Just a solid defense. And if you have a solid defense, you can work with streaky attackers and like chopping and changing in the midfield and stuff like that. But you can just look at us. We have amazing attackers, but our defense is just clowns every like 2 games. And it's just I'd rather have streaky attacking than streaky defense because it's just in one, if you don't let in goals, okay, fine, whatever. But or if you don't score goals, you can kind of scrape your way through games. But if you can't defend, it's over for you.
I see Polson agreeing. What do you have to say,
Yeah.
Polson?
Yeah, I think I agree with all of that. The thing Everton have is not only do they have a brilliant centre-back partnership, they might low-key have potentially the best fullback duo in the league as well, because Dean is absolutely ridiculous and Seamus Coleman might be the Premier League's most underappreciated player. So he's scarily good sometimes. And barring that, Everton also have creativity in their favour over us. James Rodriguez is basically the dream attacking midfielder for pretty much every team in the league. He belongs on a sort of Man City kind of team if it weren't for the fact they have Kevin De Bruyne. That's James Rodriguez's kind of level. But then also, as far as the streaky attack versus streaky defence thing, I agree. A streaky moments in attack, having poor moments in attack will cost you a single attack. You still might get goals in that game. A streaky defence will mean that you will just randomly let in a goal at any stage during a game, which is
look
so
at
much
us.
more.
Playing out to the back in a random point against the run of play, just give away goal. That's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. It's horrendous. So Everton should be much better than they are, by the way. Everton really should be in the top four. They should be in top four positions, never mind in top four contention.
It's because
they should easily be there.
It's because there's so many games behind.
Okay, so guys, before we end all this, what do you think is more possible, the Carabao Cup or the top four? Like, let's start with Polson. What do you think is more likely for us?
See, that's tough. Because just on pure difficulty, I think probably top four is the easier out of the two to achieve. But the Man City thing can be a fluke. So perhaps that makes that go in that. Like if you play out the rest of the season like 10 times, I think the chances that all of the teams competing for top four choke while we do really well is really unlikely. Whereas there's always a chance in a cup final that the massive underdog just comes out and wins. But I think oddly, maybe beating Man City is the more likely out of the two situations, strangely.
Praveen?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Just on the basis of it's one game versus like 8.
Yeah, exactly.
So we could win the Carabao Cup on like an own goal. We can't go through top four on like a single own goal or something. But yeah, I mean they're both really low, but I think in a one-off game anything can happen. So I also like I'll always back us against City in like one-off games, like in tournaments and stuff.
That's true.
We seem to like weirdly do well against them.
That's true. When they went on their 24 games they went without losing in all competitions, the last time they had lost was us. So maybe there's something to that. We
just inspire teams.
I mean, like, I agree with you guys, like, that 9 times out of 10, if we played that cup game, we might lose. But then there's this one time where we do actually win. And it's more likely to win the Carabao than top four because, our form speaks for itself. But I think the weight of Manchester City as an opponent, to me, is as tough as the top four battle itself. Facing Man City is like facing 10 consecutive top 6 teams, in my opinion. Like if you took teams from the 4th to the 7th place, if you combine them together, they're as tough as that Manchester City team. So I honestly don't know what to say. And the thing is, we said, like, once we were out of the FA and the Europa and everything was gone, we said top 4 and a Carabao, not just one of the two. No, it has to be both. And the more we play games, the more unlikely it actually does seem to achieve both. So I don't know. I actually will disagree with both of you on this. I actually think a top 4 is easier than to face Manchester City because Manchester City could just run through us. Like you said, it's a one-off game and we might win this, but it's also a one-off game for them. And as much as they're bottlers in cup matches, maybe in Europe they're more bottlers than
they're not bottlers in cup matches, domestic cups.
No, not domestic.
They're very good in domestic cups.
Yeah,
exactly. So, like I'm saying, like they're really good at domestic cups. Period. We haven't been in a domestic cup final in so long, so I think they're just so used to it. They're just gonna run through us. Whereas maybe in top 4, because of how inconsistent the Premier League has been this season, we could just tumble our way through a top 4 and just work our way next season and figure shit out, while we're at it. But you were saying
I suppose that's true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just looking at the fixture list, and then so we have United, Everton, Southampton, then the cup final.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think if we win that cup final, I think we win the last couple games because it's Sheffield, Leeds, Wolves, Villa, then last day against Leicester City, not Man City. So if we can if we just look at it through the next 3 games of United, Everton, and Southampton, if we get a good run going to the cup final and then somehow win the cup final,
We could actually go
I
top
think-
4.
I think we can go top 4. It depends on the momentum we have after the cup. If City smash us in the cup final, there's no chance of us getting top 4. We'll probably lose to Sheffield the next week. Like,
It's like this all or nothing season.
Yeah.
You know, ironic since we had like, you know,
very ironic.
The only reason I will say I think the cup win is more likely is because we're Spurs. I think it's much more likely we have a random good game against a team we're not expected to beat than have a consistent
run.
stretch of games where we win games we're supposed to.
Okay.
That's
a
probably
good
never
one.
going to happen.
That's a good one. So we know obviously if Jose wins the Carabao and hits top 4, you know he's going to stay next season, right? So we know that. But what if he doesn't? Like, let's say he just hits top 4. Do you think he's going to stay next season?
Yeah.
What if he wins the Carabao? Do any of you think he's going to stay next season?
If he wins a Carabao, I think he definitely stays, just because we're so deprived of trophies.
I
What?
think if he gets, I think the only way Levy fires him is if we don't get either.
Yeah, that's what
Because
that's the question I was going to ask
Yeah.
next. I was like, what do you guys think if he actually blows off both? Like the Carabao Cup final, he loses the
I
Carabao.
mean, he's expected to, right?
And he's-
Like,
yeah, and he
based
just-
on chances, we're
top
not supposed to do either. Like, we're not favoured for top 4. We're certainly not favoured for final. It's most likely that we don't get either. So,
So you guys think he's
in
going to
that
get sacked?
situation,
I think he would get fired if we don't make either.
Uh-huh.
Because, but at the same time, you need to consider the club would be screwed for money at that point because we don't get. I mean, depending on where we finish, we might not even get Europa League money. We'll have to pay Jose's release or buyout or whatever it's called, which is supposedly like 20 million plus, which we can't really afford.
yeah.
And-
Scarily, that might be the reason why he doesn't get sacked either
Yeah.
way. Is because we would be in such a poor financial situation if we don't get top 4 or win Carabao that actually it becomes impossible to still
Sack
sustain
him.
ourselves while paying the fee that it costs to sack him. So
Because-
he's basically got us hostage.
Yeah, it just blows my mind that Levy doesn't have a break clause in a contract. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of witchcraft is that?
I mean,
It's
or maybe like you know how when we sacked Pochettino, we paid him like the same salary he had, even though he wasn't working for our club. Maybe we would do the same. We'd pay like Mourinho like 15 million a year until his contract, the agreed contract, expires. He just doesn't coach us, and we bring someone else. I don't know what's that called exactly, but like we sack him now.
Well,
We
yeah, I
pay
know
him
what
the
you're
50
talking
million
about,
until
but
like 2022-23, where his contract expires. Then we let go of him, and we don't pay him anymore while we get a new manager. You know,
with
this could
Poch,
work.
it was he gets paid this like the same rate until he found a new job, basically.
So same thing with Mourinho. Why don't we do the same thing with Mourinho?
And
don't have
Mourinho
to-
might not find a new job. Like we might.
It might
pay the
just it
rest
might
of
be
his
just
contract.
differences in the contract make that
Yeah.
impossible as well. It might all be preset so that there's only one real way you can get rid of him.
Yeah, that's the terrifying thing because if we in the horror position we have a bad run of games leading into the Carabao Cup, that leads into the Carabao Cup. We get blown out in the final, and then that doom and gloom runs through the rest of the season. We could finish like 8th, realistically. At that point, it's Jose has to go at that point, but we might not have the money to actually let him go.
Or we could let him go and just bring like an interim until we just get the money and then get some guy in the future. I mean,
Give
It's all
it Danny
bleak.
Rose to the end of the season.
I wish. I honestly wish. I miss the guy.
Give it to a Twitter bot. Honestly, analyze the trends on Twitter. That's all you need to do.
Mm.
Well, Amro's going to be sending applications for his own role as Tottenham manager. So
Exactly.
get ready for Lamella number 10 every single game.
Exactly. That's what I'm gonna do. But
Oh,
okay,
Lamella.
so it was actually great with you guys. I'm glad we actually did this episode.
Yeah, this was
Actually-
fun.
Yeah, actually, I actually keep in contact with Praveen and Polson a lot. So there's a lot of chemistry going on between us. We're very chill and there's a flow of information. But it was an amazing episode. I had fun listening to you guys. Hopefully we can do this again. So
Yes.
make sure you guys follow them. I'm gonna write down their Twitter usernames in the description below. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. So take care, guys. Stay safe.